Well, we're here, and we're one day closer to potentially breaking the snow drought, but there's still a lot of uncertainties in the air. We have another major storm that's going to follow for the first part of next week, which we're going to talk about, and the long range, which is also quite fascinating. All of this and so much more that you will be left just, I don't know, stunned on tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which, of course, as it is every night, brought to you by our friends at Tempest by WeatherFlow. You can get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. It's easy to put together. It takes you like 5 minutes to set it up. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board, and it's also on the descriptor to this video. We'd like to mention that Tempest is an affiliate of the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. Use the coupon code I want a weather station because we all know that deep down inside you do. And if you do, you will get,
You'll get 10% off, Joe. 10%.
yes, 10% is a good thing. Some reason I can't pin this thing to the top of the chat board tonight for some reason. I can pin everybody else's, but it's not letting me pin me. Oh well. I'll see if I can figure that out. Welcome to everybody on the chat board tonight to the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast on this Wednesday, the 3rd of January. And to those of you not on the chat board but watching in the background attentively, we also welcome you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel because we are on Sunday through Thursday at 7:35, and quite possibly we will be on Friday and or Saturday this week. When we add those extra shows, we always let you know. And if you got those notifications on, you won't miss us, and that would be a good. We don't want you to miss us. Okay, so lots to talk about. Still lots of uncertainty. I think we all have feelings about how this is going to go. I will tell you that I'm not 100% sure about this, Joe, but the the number of posts that I've seen out there going off the deep end is amazing to me. And of course, it gets pointed out to me uh, for two reasons. One, because I'm not going down that road, and two, because people love to forecast shop, and you know how I feel about forecast shopping.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting next 72 hours. Let's put it that way. I have seen forecasts out there that are suggesting that parts of Long Island and New York City are going to get hammered with significant snowfall. I'm not too sure about that. I think actually we have too much to factor in with the mild ocean water and onshore flow. Um, I really, I did not put a snow map up today. I'll probably have to put one up tomorrow. I honestly don't think that we're going to be looking at a tremendous amount of snow, especially south of Interstate 287 in the lower Hudson Valley. North of there, yeah, a few inches is possible, but I am a bit concerned, Joe, that we might be looking in some cases at a more of a rain than snow event.
Well, a lot's going to depend on what happens Saturday. Does it cloud up quickly? Because it should be cold Friday night into Saturday morning. I would think most areas are going to get down to the 20s. And does it cloud up quickly? Because precipitation is not going to arrive until probably, depending on where you are in eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England, late afternoon or early evening. And you have, the low being just offshore when it starts developing and then eventually slides out to the east. It's going to try to pull in some warm air off the ocean. I agree with you. I kind of think that if you're, well, we like to use highways for uh, uh, demarcation lines. So I would say, just sort off the bat, and I did already do an early call forecast map, which I will show tomorrow night. Because today my subscribers got it, so I'd like to give them a day to absorb it. And I don't change. Those of you who are new, or haven't seen, we haven't. I think we drew one map last year. For those of you who are new to the show, when I do my early call forecast map, I stick with it until the day before when I do the final call. I don't go changing it every couple of hours because one model did this and one model did that. I have my general idea of how I see things, and I put out that early call and I hold to it. I kind of, you know, I'm sort of along the lines with you, uh, where along the immediate coast, I think it's very tricky. I covered that for the possibility that for the immediate, like Long Island, New York City, that there would be a very sloppy possibility of an inch, maybe a little bit more than that. Put, let's say, an inch or two. Okay. And then I only went, maybe 2, 3, or 4 inches going north and west, and perhaps a little bit higher in northeastern Pennsylvania and up in the Catskills and points north from there. I did not go off the deep end. It just it's this is not the same system that was shown days and days ago, which was wrapped up where the warm air was cut off. There was much more of a high building down. It is, it's morphed into something somewhat different, and you have to respect that with respect to what the models are showing. But there's still room for movement in the next day or two, so we'll see where it goes.
What's concerning to me is that I looked at the 12Z NAM FOOS, which gives the boundary level temperature. These are the temperatures that are not too far above ground level. And for the 60, it only goes out on the FOOS to 60 hours. That places us to Saturday evening. And Saturday evening at LaGuardia, the boundary temperature was 0 already.
Right. And the FOOS really didn't do very much in terms of what it was showing to our south. I mean, it was really just like, duh. That's kind of when I looked at it, when I looked at the NAM. I've gotten to the point, though, with the NAM model. We haven't really last year we had no chance to test it. I mean, every time we have these events, we're always testing, in a sense, we're testing what the models are doing. We're seeing what they show, and then when reality comes and plays its hand, then we can see whether the model did a good job or a not so good job. I just noticed that certainly in the last year or so, the NAM has not really been very good until you get, Tony Gigi said once it's inside 36 hours, it becomes much more reliable. And I've noticed that's been quite true. It does weird things now between 36 and 84 hours. So
right.
I'm gonna say, I'm going to the 12Z NAM, Joe. Hold on, the 12Z NAM. Today's Wednesday, so the 60-hour only goes to Friday evening.
Friday evening. Friday
Friday
evening.
evening.
Yeah.
I just
But
realized that.
considering how much colder it's going to turn later tomorrow into tomorrow night and Friday.
Right, and it's also going to be.
And then all of a sudden, Friday evening, it bumps back up to near 0 on the boundary temperature, and it kind of makes you wonder where is it going to go from there. It can only go up. It can't go down. So
I agree with your point, and the trick is going to be Friday night. How cold it is? Is it a clear night? Are we going to have radiation? You're going to see temperatures, fall, radiational cooling wise and otherwise. And then what does it do on Saturday? So we'll probably have to wait another day or so for the NAM to at least start to give us some numbers of where we're going to be late in the afternoon on Saturday. But there's also a lot of weird things that are going on the global models. The runs of the overnight runs. Last night's European, if I remember correctly, all of a sudden had double-digit snow amounts along the immediate coast, only to have them almost completely taken away on the 12Z run. Then you had the GFS sort of do the same thing, and then at 18Z it did some really weird things at 18Z, which I want to point out in case people pulling up snowmats saying, why is New York City getting 11 inches on the 18Z map? Well, I think there's a reason for it, and we'll talk about that too. The other thing,
did you take a look at the Canadian model and what they did to us?
And I just also looked at the Canadian model. Yes, I did. So Yeah, it's a tough setup. It's a tough setup because if the low, one other thing, if the low once it gets offshore, if it deepens a little bit, that could shut off some of the warm air coming in off the ocean. On the other hand, the ocean water temperatures are not that cold. So if you've got if you've got a east northeast wind, unless that air is dry from the high to the north, it's going to be hard not for the boundary temperatures to get to go up and to go up even in some inland areas. So, you know, I just don't. I feel completely uncomfortable with the. Yeah.
I think it's a record.
That
We've
means we
already
hit
done.
100 likes and we're only 15 minutes into the show. Thank you very much. So let's see if we can take it to 200 like we did last night. And David Fuller, thank you for hitting the tip jar. Thank you for hitting super chat. You want your 2-inch thing to continue. That's right, because you want to shovel and get overtime. I kind of want to watch the team lose one more time. Go Giants. Yes, I get it. Good luck with that. Um, okay. So, would you like to just? Would you? I'm. I've been paying a lot more attention. I mean, just as much attention, I should say, to that system for next week for Tuesday, later Tuesday into Wednesday. I'm becoming a little more convinced that there's going to be some front end on that. Maybe not at the immediate coast, but not that far inland, and up through upstate New York and into New England. I think there could be a sizable snowfall there before they lose it to rain. But even then, at that point, who knows how much rain they would get anyway because it'd be almost over with. But between that and the wind, we also should mention that this is probably going to spread a fairly widespread area of heavy snow from the central plains all the way up to the Great Lakes. This could be a big storm for Chicago, Milwaukee, depending on where it ultimately sets up. Uh, and in the long range, Joe, that low is going to be really important because all the models are pointing to a rather monstrous looking block that develops up in Greenland over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, all of a sudden it is becoming more and more winter-like. For all of you out there who just a few weeks ago had thrown the towel in and said it was all over.
I'm going to hang them all out to dry. I swear I'm going. I am so fed up with I mean, it's like 5-year-old crybabies, Joe. They're like crybabies. Winter's over. It's never going to snow again. I mean, just stop already. Really, seriously, stop it. We're not 5-year-olds here. We might act like it sometimes, but we're not 5-year-olds.
And by the way, Dr. Cohen, Judah Cohen, on his latest tweet, or whatever you want to call it, X, he says he had to use the Vulcan mind meld to make sense of all of it in terms of the patterns for the upcoming weeks. He's doing the polar vortex tap dance.
You know what? I showed it to Bill Goodman when it came out. I sent him a picture of the upper air, the hemispheric upper air, and his response back was, "That is this. It looks sick." He says it's just the sickest looking pattern, upper pattern. And by sick, it's not the over our age type of sick. It's the young lingo sick. So if something's sick, it's good. It's something good. So there you have it. It was really. I looked at it and my eyes just kind of bulged. All right, so do you have the hazards map up yet?
Oh, did you want me to put it up?
I'll put it up because it's like a Christmas tree. I think everybody should see the hazards map.
All right. Well, hold on for a second. Would you like to see? Now, when you say the hazards map, I mean, are you talking about from the CPC?
Yes.
And you want me to show the snow hazards?
I want you to show the whole map with all the hazards on the one map. I have it. If you don't have it, I can bring it up.
I'm not sure exactly what. I mean, I have. Now you better put whatever you have.
I'll show you what I have. Okay. So here's the hazards map. And it was. I looked at this. I must have stared at it for 15 minutes. I still couldn't understand it. There was so many of them. But this is on the static hazards map. There's one that's interactive where you can move it around. This is for the period from January 6th through January 10th. Okay. So they've got a blue area of heavy snow from the central Appalachians up into New England. And the southern edge of that line cuts across northern New Jersey. They have high winds boxed off for January 7th for New Jersey and Long Island. I guess with the coastal low, but I didn't think the gradient was that exceptional. But no matter. They have freezing rain in the central Appalachians all the way down to western North Carolina, which is technically the southern Appalachians, for January 6th and for January 9th. For Florida, they have heavy rain for the 9th and 10th. Actually, I'm sorry, that's the southern edge of heavy rain. So all of Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Mississippi, into Louisiana, all under heavy rain. The yellow area is severe weather, and that's probably that is off SPC from East Texas to Southeast Texas across southern Louisiana into southern Alabama, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle. They've got this big blue area of heavy snow, okay, for January 7th through January 10th from southern Colorado and into the Central Plains, northeastward through Iowa, northern Illinois, southern edge at Chicago, the northern edge up in northern Wisconsin into northern Michigan. They have high winds, a big area of high winds for the January 9th and 10th for pretty much everybody east of the Mississippi. It's insane. And then in the west, you've got all these little boxes of heavy snows in some of the mountains of Idaho, Arizona, the Sierra Nevadas, the Cascades, and on and on and on it goes. And not to leave Alaska out, they've got two areas of high wind. I'm sorry, four areas of high winds and one area of heavy precipitation. I wonder why they call it that and not snow. Here, here's
Oh,
on.
maybe they think it's going to be a mixed bag.
Look at
Rain,
that.
snow. I don't know.
That far north? Oh, maybe right at the coast. I guess. I don't know. I'm not a. I don't follow Alaska weather.
Yeah.
Pretty much. They don't have Hawaii on this map. Oddly enough,
Well,
maybe the map's not big enough. They got too many hazards.
Hawaii has its own problems. And they're
Yes.
in like the middle of the Pacific Ocean, so there you go.
All right. Well, let's look at the satellite loop tonight because it looks busy. There are things going on. For one thing, we have a system here moving through the southeast. I didn't get out of the low to mid 30s here all day, and it's been overcast. And I've been looking at the radar, which had all this precip aloft, none of it reaching the ground by me, just hoping that I'd see a snowflake or two, but that did not happen. And we have that. Of course, we've also got this northwest flow out of Canada that keeps ripping along little disturbances and little short waves that keep producing clouds. Do you have a lot of clouds today?
Yes, it was supposed to be a mainly sunny day for much of the day, and turned out to be more cloudy than anything else.
Yeah.
I saw the clouds. We had quite a few clouds even before noontime, and then it just got progressively cloudier from there. So, kind of another disappointment in terms of. I mean, after the gorgeous, pristine day we had yesterday, and today, again, the clouds winning out over the sunshine.
In the west, we've got the Saturday disturbance is now on shore, and that'll be moving southeastward over the next 2 days. And in the meantime, the system that's in the southeast with high clouds now pushing up into northern Virginia, that is going to slide off the southeast coast and head on its merry way out into the open waters of the Atlantic. So if you want nice weather, there's a few little slivers here and there, mostly in the lower Mississippi Valley, the southern plains, and kind of back up into the Rockies today. That's the place there didn't seem to be bothered by what was going on in other places. And the radar right now, as I said, Joe, I got all this precip aloft on the radar here in North Georgia, and not a drop coming down, or not a snowflake either. And there's some rain in South Carolina, rain in central and South Georgia, rain down in North Florida where it's a little heavier. Some precip aloft as far north as northern Virginia. That's going out. in that northern stream. Some of these circular-looking blobs just looks like radar stuff, false echoes. But there are some patches of snow moving eastward in that northwest flow, and that's why you had all those clouds you saw on the satellite. Meanwhile, in the west, we've got some precipitation moving into Arizona. I'm sure it's probably snow in the mountains there. Also up into Utah and Nevada, some snow there, and we've got some rain going on in the Pacific Northwest. The watches and warnings tonight. Winter weather advisories up for North Texas and western Kansas. Winter storm warnings for much of northern and northwestern New Mexico, surrounded by winter weather advisories. Advisories up in counties across northern Arizona, eastern Nevada, a few in southern Utah. And we've got winter storm watches up for the Sierra Nevadas. And on the southern end of that, we already have winter storm warnings. I think we even have a few winter storm. I don't know what color that is because they're small. There must be winter weather. Looks like they could be winter weather advisories. I just want to check this one spot in Southern California in the mountains. That's a winter weather advisory. They got a
Carol DeChera, by the way, pointing out on the chat board that coming up this weekend is the anniversary of a storm that you and I both remember very well, Joe, the 1996 blizzard.
Yes.
And it's hard for me to believe that was
27 years ago.
No, 28. 28.
Right, 28 years ago.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, well, this one for this weekend ain't going to be that one. Nowhere close. By the way, Raymond O'Hara, thank you so much for hitting Super Chat tonight. Really do appreciate it. Thank you. I think there was somebody else. We had David Fuller hit it. It looks like there might have been one other. The chairman, Scott Briller, hitting Super Chat tonight.
David Fuller, the chairman, and Raymond O'Hara so far. And on my count, 159 likes already. And we're only 22 minutes into the show.
Yes. The chairman says Atlantic City has had only 7 snowstorms of 10 inches or more in January since 1900. And the ocean water temperature at Atlantic City is 46. It's on the high side. Could be important. We'll see. Okay, WPC. Now, this is a little bit. Let me see if I can change this. I'll do the 5-day because then we could take out the 2 days afterward and just look at the first system. So let's do that. Let's go to 120 hours and see what we get. Okay, so this is the 5-day. And that takes us to Monday night. So the Tuesday, Wednesday system is not included here, except for maybe what you see over in New Mexico and Arizona, where the lead energy is coming in. But as far as the weekend system is concerned, a ½ inch of liquid into northeastern Pennsylvania, 3/4 of an inch into northern New Jersey and Long Island, going southwest through the Carolinas and into Georgia. Heavier rains of 1.5 inches plus, and even some 2 to 3 inch amounts along the Gulf Coast, and just touching the South Carolina and North Carolina coast. ½ to 3/4 inch liquid precip amounts from New Mexico and Arizona northward up the Rockies and up the Wasatch, and on the west coast from northernmost California up to northwestern Washington, we have a couple of bands there of 2 to 3 inches of liquid plus over the next 5 days. And now we can look at the 7-day. So I'll change this now to the 7-day. And you will notice that in total, so the 7-day total is 2.5 to 3 inches, Joe, from Maine all the way down into North Carolina. Then you start to get into the 3 to 5 inch rainfalls from western North Carolina down to the Florida Panhandle and west toward Louisiana.
This includes this weekend system, correct?
Right. This would include the weekend system. The first map was just the weekend system.
Right.
The second map includes it. All right. So it gives 2.5 to 3 inches. So subtract an inch from that. So roughly, a ½ to 3/4. So we're looking at, let's say, 1 3/4 to 2.5 for eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England for the second system. I think that's fair.
Well, I think it's unfair, but
Why is it unfair?
Well, I mean, for this part of the country that had so many near record or record rainfall months going back to last summer, and now here we go into the winter, and you figure in the wintertime, oh, it's colder, so the air doesn't hold as much moisture, so we won't have quite as much, and here we go again with the possible deluge. It doesn't seem to want to end, Joe.
Nope, it doesn't. And Nick Nick can't. Oh God. Oh, Nikki and Kiki Cupcake.
Cupcake.
Nikki and Nikki Cupcake. Thank you for hitting super chat and for putting me through Nikki and Nikki. It took me a little while because I'm staring into a light and hard to read it. All right, WPC. WPC. Now this is the snowfall in the long range, and starting with Sunday, which was okay. Here we go. So they kind of move things a little bit. But they've got now. This is for at least a few inches. You know, it's amazing, Joe. I put this map up this morning, okay, on my Facebook, on my website link, and I use this map, and it says clearly on the map that this is the probability of it exceeding. Now they put a quarter of an inch of liquid equivalent of snow to sleet. I've been verbally saying, and I wrote, this map shows the chance of getting at least a few inches. Okay, I can't tell you how many people looked at that map and said, "Oh, Long Island only has a 10% chance of snow." No, that's not what the map says. This is the probability for at least a few inches of snow, not no snow. Okay, or 10% chance of snow. It's a 10 per 30% chance of at least a few inches. That's what that means. The dark green is 30 to 50. The blue is 50 to 70, and you have that in northwest New Jersey, the Catskills, or even the Hudson Valley west of the Hudson, much of northeastern Pennsylvania through central and southwest PA down into West Virginia. And I think this kind of makes sense to me. That the heaviest amounts will probably fall there because they really don't have to, they're going to get some cold air wedged in and they don't really have to worry about it getting scoured out.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct on that point. Most people, by the way, when they look at this map, Joe, as you just pointed out at the beginning, don't really know how to read things. They look at this and they say, oh, well, the blue area, that's probably where the heavy snows are going to fall. And the light green is where, again, a little bit of snow, a little light snow.
Right.
And again, my feelings are that, from Philadelphia to New York City, it's going to be tough, and points south and east. It's going to be tough to get more than an inch or two out of this because, again, I'm very concerned about the low-level warming of the atmosphere. Again, those boundary temperatures. I'll be very interested to see tomorrow afternoon, with the 12Z run, we'll be able to actually see what the boundary level temperatures are into Saturday evening at the start of this event.
Right.
And let me tell you, folks, if LaGuardia shows anything within a degree of zero, you snow lovers on Long Island, New York, or coastal New Jersey are in big trouble.
Well, the only thing I would say as an addendum to that little asterisk, Joe, we also need to look at the vertical motions. Because if you
get enough dynamic,
right. So if you get some impressive vertical motions that can cool that bottom part of the atmosphere, and that's all part of this. I think there's just all these little variables that are in play along the coast. It's probably it's less of a factor the further inland you go. But right along the immediate coast and for the big cities, it is a factor, and this could ruin your forecast in both directions. By the way, where you think it might be too warm, and then you get dynamic cooling because we've seen that happen a number of times, and suddenly you got heavy snow and a temperature that drops down to 30 while it's doing it. Not saying that that's what's going to happen here, but we've been down that road many times in both of our careers, and have gotten the occasional surprise in one direction or another.
Like a double take, like what?
Yeah,
it's doing what?
Now, I want to also show. Okay, let me do the probability now. This is the shorter range, so this takes us through Saturday evening. So this is now again, this is through Saturday evening. We don't have Saturday night and Sunday. That defers to that other map. But through Saturday evening, 7 o'clock, this is the probability for at least two. And the light blue that you see in West Virginia, that's a 70 to 80% chance. That salmon color there, that little salmon dot, is 80%. Some of what you see in north central New York, though, is probably from some lake effect tomorrow and Friday. But most of the stuff that's in PA and points southward, that is from the system that is coming up. And obviously the likelihood is the chance is low in northwest New Jersey through Saturday evening because of the fact that it ain't there. It's barely getting there Saturday evening. So you have to see it tomorrow morning. It'll go to Sunday morning, and it'll be a much more um, valuable piece of information for us. And then, as we also look at what's going on out in the west, to point out, this is the snowfall forecast going out for the next. Actually, there's missing data here. I just realized that because there's no color there. Let me see if I move it to Saturday, to midnight Saturday. There you go. So this is a bit better. So this is through 1 a.m. Saturday, and you can see the areas that we've got winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories in New Mexico and up in Kansas. Not a lot of snow here. We're talking about a few inches, a few pockets where it's heavier in some of the mountaintops, where they have the winter storm warnings up, and that extends back through Arizona, Utah, Nevada, the Sierra Nevadas, and then on up into Idaho. Looks like it snows through the whole state in Idaho and in much of the state of Oregon, except right along the immediate coast. So I want to just show a couple of things here. This what I have up right now, Joe, is the Ensemble snow mount. This is the 18Z Ensemble snow forecast for Saturday night into Sunday morning. Okay, and I kind of thought that this actually was fairly reasonable to an extent. I don't know why. I mean, they got Brentwood. Now, technically, Brentwood is right on the Long Island Expressway. It's actually to the northwest of Islip. Islip, the actual town of Islip, is down close to the South Shore. The airport is close to the expressway, which cuts the island in half. But they got a 3.4-inch amount there. But they only have a 1.4 for the city, 1.9 for Philadelphia, 1.4 for Trenton, 1.4 for Wilmington. And then you go northwest, like Yonkers, it's got 4.7, Poughkeepsie 5.5, Middletown 6.2, and much of Connecticut is 3 to 5. I don't have any problem with that. That looks reasonable to me.
Let
And
me also point out the rapid speed. This is moving at a fairly good clip. So if you're going to put down 6 or more inches, this thing has to stick around for a little while. Otherwise, you're going to make the assumption that you're going to be getting 1 inch per hour
right,
consecutively for six straight hours.
right.
I really don't see that. So
Right. There's also some backside stuff that comes in for Sunday, and then you don't know on that how cold is it going to be. Yeah, the model is picking it up as snow, but does it really accumulate? The temperatures are above freezing where it doesn't stick to anything. I really don't know. I don't know what the answer to that question is. And I'm going to switch over to. Oh, and by the way, when I moved it, I just jumped it off after the second thing, and it actually produces some fairly significant snows ahead of the second system inland, northwest New Jersey, up through the Catskills to Poughkeepsie, and then on up the Hudson Valley and points northward, northeastern Pennsylvania, all pick up what looks like a sizable front end thump. But I want to show you the GFS 18Z snow map, and then I'm going to show you why it did what it did. And to me, if you're forecasting off of this, anticipating what the surface map is going to show you in a second, I think you're crazy to do that. But that's me. Okay, so here are the numbers that the 18Z spat out, Joe. 9.5 for New York City, 10.5 for Yonkers, 6.9 for Brentwood, 9.3 for Trenton, 8 inches for Philadelphia, 4.2 for Wilmington, 11.5 for Allentown, 10 for Poughkeepsie, 9.9 for Bridgeport. I looked at this and I said, now why is it doing that? That didn't make any sense to me. And then I looked at the surface map, and I'll bring that up now. And this is why. And it's got Joe. It's got to be convective feedback in some in to some to a large extent. I'm going to bring up the map for Saturday night. Oh, there it goes. Just let me roll it. Let me get it right to where I want it. Right there. You see that
And
purple?
the sad part about it is that some kids coming out of college or just kids who look at this stuff, 12, 13, they're 12, 13, 14-year-old kids who look at this and they automatically accept it. They'll run in and say, "Hey, Mom, Dad, guess what? We're going to get 12 inches of snow."
Right.
It doesn't work that way,
No.
kids. It
And
doesn't work
look,
that way.
but you see this purple area here? That's heavy snow. That's S plus. Okay, that is heavy snow in this blob that I don't and couldn't find any reason for that why it's doing that, but it holds that blob and moves it literally right over New York City as if to say, you know what, we're gonna put a dumping on New York City on purpose, just to mess up all the low end forecasters. But that's why it did that. And honestly, I don't know. There's no, and then it kind of starts to weaken as it moves across Long Island. Although it holds together into central Suffolk County, and then it sticks out there at Long Island Sound, and then to the east of that, that's all rain in the yellow that you see there. But yeah, that's why it did what it did. And now we're into 4 a.m. and that blob is gone, and your low is far enough offshore. So here, see, this is where it gets a little tricky because the winds will start turning around more to the northeast and north by the time we get to early Sunday morning. So if there is any backside precip, which is kind of what the GFS is implying, that might change over to snow in areas where it's been mostly rain, and then you got the upper trough to work through. So that might be the way that you might be right. You may be right in that first surge of precip that goes through moves very quickly, and along the coast maybe it would be too warm for rain, but then it's always possible that we could get that upper trough on the backside as the low's pulling out to enhance an area of snow on the backside, and you wind up getting a coating to an inch or so from that.
Right. Right. Now, oh, thank you. 200 likes. Thank you.
200 likes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And Shraggy Stern, thank you for hitting the super chat tip jar. He says, winter is here, hopefully. Oh, it is. And what are your thoughts on Rockland County? Well, my personal thoughts on Rockland County is that it's a beautiful county. I went, for that area, I'm thinking 2 to 4. That's sort of how I did it. I put them in a 2 to 4 inch zone up in that area. But I'll bring the early call map up. We'll put it up tomorrow. So anyway, I just wanted to show that with respect to why you got to be so careful with these snow maps. And while I have it up, we could take a look at the European if you want.
Sure.
The European goes out 90 hours. So let's see what it has. Well, we have the surface map up here. So let's go to 90.
And after that, I want to show the FGen. You were talking about dynamics a few minutes ago, and
Okay.
if you have dynamics, you can even with above freezing temperatures, you can possibly bring enough snow down to make people happy.
Yeah. Leon Probitsky, thank you for hitting the tip jar. Most appreciated. All right, so this is the 90, the 18Z European. Now, all this, I think this purple here, Joe, I think that's sleet. The brighter, the bluish purple that's over Long Island, New York City. There's an area of purple, that darker purple, over in western New Jersey between Allentown and Bridgewater. That's heavy snow, that color purple. And I'll go one more. Now this is at 1 a.m. It's got mostly sleet across Long Island and New York City and south of Route 78. Believe it or not. And there's a purple band of heavy snow halfway between Poughkeepsie and Albany and up in northern Litchfield County and in southwest Mass. Then here we are at 4 a.m. Some light rain on Long Island. He's got some sleet surrounding that. Still sleet in New York City at 7 a.m. And that's as far as it goes. So let's see what it generates. Now, again, here's where the snow maps get tricky again because of the fact that a lot of times it'll show sleet and count it as snow. It doesn't it doesn't show a separate sleet map. It doesn't take the sleet out oftentimes. So you're sort of adding, using both, and you can't really do that. Let's see what the 90 hour. So this is the European 18Z. So this is ending at 1 p.m. Sunday. So this covers most of it. 2.1 for Brentwood, 2.9 for New York City, 3.4 Yonkers. So it gives New York City 2.9. Yet we looked on those surface maps and it's all sleet. It's all sleet. So it doesn't seem to me like you're going to get 2.9 if it's all sleet.
Yeah, that doesn't seem to work. And Joe, there's just too much information sometimes.
I know. Oh, I agree.
Too much. You get so confused. Back in the day when you and I were just getting started, I mean, we looked at the LFM, the 2.LFM, and there was also, we had to wait until late in the afternoon to see the PE, the primitive equation model. And a lot of these models didn't go out much further than 72 hours for us. And
you had to think more.
Now you had to. Now you got the European, you got the UK Met, you've got the Canadian, you got this, you got that. Wait a minute, we got to look at the Japanese model. No, wait a minute, we got something else to look at. And your head starts to spin.
No, I listen. Yeah. I mean, back when we didn't have all this, you actually had to think more than you do now, because there's a natural tendency to just look at the map and think that, okay, well, the work was done for you. And in a lot of ways, I think it's made it. I think it's made it harder for us to communicate the fact that these maps are not good indicators. They are tools for a forecaster maybe to use, but to put them up and even you put them up and you put them up with a disclaimer that says, even if you put it up with a disclaimer that says, now we're not forecasting this, then why the hell are you putting it up? Why bother to put it up? Okay, if you're putting it up, somebody's going to just look at that. They don't read what you say. They're going to just look at that map and they're going to say, you know what? So-and-so is saying this. Okay? Sometimes they'll quote the map and say, I saw on the European that it gave X number of inches, or on the GFS or whatever. But you got to go down deep into the guts of what's going on to see that, those numbers may not be correct because of the fact that when you look at the surface, as I said, in New York City, it's all sleet. So how do you get 2.9? Where did it snow in that period that we saw? Because every 3-hour period of the surface was all sleet. So there.
So there, yes.
So there. And by the way, these are all pivotal weather maps, which I really like. And we can look at the 18Z European Ensemble. Maybe that'll help or hurt. Okay, this is the chance for snow. It actually has a 92% chance of snow in New York City at 7 p.m. Sunday, but that's because it's probably cold enough. It's going to
7 p.m. Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh, well,
But that's after it's over with.
That's after it's over, yeah.
Okay. So this is 7 p.m. Saturday. I'm going to just switch to the total snowfall and see what the European ensembles are doing. Okay. All right, so the European ensembles, which, by the way, Joe, have been running higher than the operational for the last couple of days. 4.6 for Central Long Island, 6.1 for New York City, 3.4 for Philadelphia, 7.3 for Yonkers, 8.2 Middletown, Poughkeepsie 8, Scranton 6, Allentown 7, Providence 8.5, Boston 8.5, Worcester, we have 8.9, Joe, for Worcester, and Lowell 8 inches even. So the ensembles, at least I guess some of the members are colder and maybe further south with the low.
I don't know. I guess so. I guess it's maybe taking it on a track a little bit closer to the benchmark, the 4070 benchmark, which is the perfect track if you want snow, as opposed to a track that's closer to the coast and would more likely bring up milder air from off of the ocean. The good thing about this, Joe, is that now we're moving into the period, the time frame within 72 hours where hopefully over the next 72 hours, most, if not all, of the models will end up on the same page and
Yes.
give us a much better handle or better idea as to what is going to happen come this weekend.
All right. So let's go to the upper air because I think that's important. And you see the setup tonight. We've got a trough to our west that is trying to phase with that southern stream system, but it won't be successful enough to bring it up the coast because the trough just marches along west to east. It doesn't pivot around and lift the southern system up the coast, so we can wave goodbye to that. Of course, here's your California cutoff, goes into New Mexico, goes into Oklahoma, then starts to lift up to Iowa, and it's hard to see it. There's a little short wave for Saturday night into Sunday that marks that defines that low. It's like right over there. So from this, you're going to wind up with some kind of a low in, eastern North Carolina or just off the coast of eastern North Carolina or southeast Virginia, and then it lifts up to the northeast. Now there's another trough behind it that comes in during the day on Sunday, so that's probably where you get the models trying to generate some snow on the backside. So that now, that kind of makes sense. If you're going to have a lagging trough like this that's going to come through, you probably will have some patchy snow around or patchy precipitation around during the day Sunday. Meanwhile, here comes the diver into the west, another big upper low. This is the powerhouse that's going to cut off in North Texas and just wrap up like an animal and lift up to the northeast to the eastern lakes and on up into eastern Canada by the time we get to Tuesday and Wednesday. And a couple of people have been pointing out that a secondary tries to develop with this low, and I do see it. When you look at the surface map,
Right at the triple point.
right. Well, there's a few things going on with that. So before we even do that, let's get through the Saturday system. So here's your low. Oh, and by the way, it's funny because I saw there was some. It went from being a Miller A to a Miller B setup, and now it's back to being a Miller A apparently.
Well, Miller makes it right.
It does. Yes, it does. I know I set you up perfectly for that. But there's your low off the coast of southeast Virginia, kind of moves northeast from there, and then it stops moving northward and slides eastward, which is kind of what you want. If it's going to trap the cold air, you're going to want it to actually be a little bit further south and east of where it's being shown, so that it kind of tells you that high that's up in northeast Quebec is more important. Well, that goes out. Now you've got the setup for the next one. You got this, a 95 low in North Texas that deepens like crazy. In southern Missouri, it's down to a 985-ish. I think earlier today it had it there at 981. But you also have an almost 1040 high there near Montreal Tuesday morning. Sunday night into Tuesday morning, Joe, I think it's going to get cold. You're going to have, especially Monday night into Monday and Monday. Monday's going to be a cold day with that north wind blowing down the Hudson Valley. And Monday night, I think it's going to be cold as well, teens and 20s. And you're going to get cold air that's going to wedge down in the Appalachians. And you can see the isobars are sort of, hairpinned down in the Appalachians here with that low. And some folks are saying, oh, well, you know what, this thing's going to wind up being further south and all. No, you're going to have this deep primary that's going to go up into Illinois, and you see all that dark blue snow that's produced with heavy snow there. But that high is going to wedge in. And I think that opens the door for a thumping for, say, northeast Pennsylvania, the Catskills, maybe even down to just south of Route 84 and points northward. Could get into some heavy snow for several hours or more that could put down a quick half a foot, maybe even a little bit more than that. But look at that. Look at the gradient. I mean, the gradient gets awfully tight here for Tuesday. I honestly think we're going to get some pretty fierce winds Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, the way this is depicted.
What's worrisome is that if this storm over the weekend ends up not doing what a lot of people expect it to do in terms of bringing a lot of snow, on the Tuesday storm, they're going to hear about wind and flooding and beach erosion, and it's they're doing it again. And This time it's not crying wolf. This time it will be of the two systems. I'm more fearful of the Tuesday system as opposed to the weekend system.
I agree. I agree. This, we had the big rain and wind from that system a couple of weeks ago. This is going to be every bit as strong, if not stronger, because I think you're working into an even stronger high with this one than you did with the last one. And there's going to be a lot of rain, and you're going to get severe weather across the south and the southeast with this. I'm going to get hammered on Tuesday with torrential rains if this is right. And maybe some snow on the backside because I'm rooting. I want this to kind of come out this way, if only because of the fact that this is one of those situations where I can get snow in the North Georgia mountains with the upper trough the way it is, kind of axis down straight south from where the surface low. You get the upper trough is kind of lined up with it, and it goes right down into the mountains, and we get some decent snowfall out of that when that happens. But no matter. This does to me look like, in terms of impacts, I think this one may wind up having far more impact than the snow, because snow melts. But in this case, we're dealing with potential for flooding from rainfall. I think we're going to be dealing with potential for coastal flooding with this as well. The new moon is the 11th, I believe. So
Correct.
So tides are not going to be near the peaks, but they are going to be rising into that new moon. And then after that goes by, so this is where we switch to the upper air, because I want to show this upper air pattern that sets up. And all the models have it, by the way, which is interesting. The GFS, the European, the Canadian, all have the upper air in the North Atlantic and Greenland the same. There's a big blocking high that develops there toward the end of next week. And I mean, this to me, when I saw this, Joe, this is out at about day 10, day 11 by the time it gets to here. I mean, that's an insane looking upper air 500. I've never quite seen something like this. That block is completely off the wall in strength. And there's a corresponding off the wall cutoff high near the Aleutians, with the flow split and a trough down to along 160. So I mean, this is it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of what this is going to mean from a practical standpoint, weather-wise, once this big storm gets out of the way.
Joseph Lepresti on the chat board says that the high in Canada is really strong. Can it deflect the Tuesday storm farther south? No, because the primary system is going up to the Great Lakes.
Yeah, I'll roll the map. I'll roll the map back so you can see that. So here's yeah. Go ahead, Joe. Here's the primary low. I circled it.
The primary low is going up to the Great Lakes, and then what happens is, and I've used this analogy. It's kind of like a crowbar. The associated frontal lines are like a crowbar trying to pry out the cold air that's already in place over the Northeast. And in the process of doing the prying, you get the increasing winds, and also you get the tremendous forcing that leads to heavy precipitation. So no, this is not going to be one of those cases where the system is going to be deflected away from our area.
No, and another way to look at it too is when you look at the upper air in terms of where it's setting up, you want to see where that trough goes neutral, and then eventually goes negative. Here's your trough axis. It's down. It's out there. it's out close to 100 west. Okay, that's not where you want it. Now, if you displaced everything further east, and let's say if your trough axis were down around 80 west, and you pivoted that upper low up to the northeast like that, then it'd be a whole different ball game.
Absolutely.
But we don't have that.
No.
So it's not going to be a whole different ball game.
Well, if you want to throw it to me, I've got the F-Gen from the NAM.
It's up on the screen even as we speak.
Now, the F-Gen, for those of you who are not acquainted, this is the atmospheric energy that helps to fuel these systems. And when you see those purple contour lines, when you see a lot of them, and when you see them get squished together, that is an indication of a lot of forcing A lot of lifting in the atmosphere. Sometimes you get thunderstorms out of that, even during the wintertime, but also an indication of heavy precipitation. Now, this is with storm number 1 that's coming our way for Saturday night, Sunday morning. And you could see that this time frame is 7 p.m. Saturday night. You could see that there's some activity going on down here over the southern end of New Jersey. Up here in the New York metropolitan area, nothing really of great concern at that particular time. But then as we move things along, again, this is the 18Z run of the North American model. Now look at this. This is 10 o'clock, 10 p.m. on Saturday night. And you can see, look at all of this. This is what we refer to as Omega or F-Gen. This is energy that is now organizing itself along the central Jersey coast out to into the ocean south of Long Island. And you would expect that any precipitation that is associated or affiliated with this is going to come down rather heavily. And now as we move further along to 1 a.m., and this is as far as, unfortunately, the 18Z NAM can go, Joe, look at all of that. Look at that stuff that is from New York City across Long Island and then out into the ocean. So perhaps you were talking about dynamics. Perhaps even if the temperatures are a bit above freezing across Long Island, if there's enough dynamics going around, enough heavy stuff, that may actually come down, maybe not as rain, but sleet or maybe even wet snow. However, let me also point this out. This was again, 7 p.m. on Saturday night, 10 p.m. Saturday night, 1 a.m. Sunday. Mental extrapolation shows you that this thing is really moving. And probably by 4 a.m. on Sunday, it's going to be somewhere over Connecticut, maybe sticking into the lower Hudson Valley. But it really is chugging along, a very rapid system. So that's why one of the reasons I would say for going against, heavy-duty amounts in excess of 6 inches in any one spot is it's moving too fast. It will be interesting to see. Now, this was the NAM. This was the North American model. I want to show you now. Let's take a look at the GFS and see what their F-Gen run indicates. This, again, is the 18Z, and this is at 700 millibars. This is, excuse me, something like 8,000 or 9,000 feet above our heads. But let me just get the time frame in here. Oh, this is still Thursday. Here's Friday. Here's Saturday. All right. So here's 7 p.m. on Saturday night. And you can see a rather organized area here of F-Gen, of atmospheric energy, down across southern and central New Jersey. That's as of 7 p.m. on Saturday night. And look, the GFS 1 a.m. Sunday morning has the whole mess over the lower Hudson Valley and over to the south and east across eastern Long Island, an even larger area of F-Gen appearing just south of Cape Cod and the islands out here. And by the time we get to 4 a.m. on Sunday, boom, it's all
Right.
it's all to our north and east.
But the GFS had that area of that blob of heavy snow over New York City. I think it was at around between 7 and 10 o'clock in the evening. So that would be right when that I guess that's what it's picking up on. That F-Gen going right over New York City, and there's your dynamic cooling if that winds up happening.
7 p.m. and you've got 1 a.m. That would indicate stuff coming down pretty good. Although the colors seem to indicate that Long Island is more rain than snow.
Yeah.
New York, you really can't tell on a map like this.
Right, and that's precip. That's not precip amounts. It's not the radar presentation. Just for laughs, switch to the radar presentation. And by the way, you don't know what goes on in between those 6 hours. It's just giving you a snapshot at 7 p.m. Saturday and then 1 a.m. Sunday. But now you got the radar up.
Right, and you can see that again. This would be all rain for New York, for Long Island. In New York covers such a large area. You could have, quote, New York City could range from like 2, 3, 4 inches in the North Bronx, like Riverdale, and meanwhile, places in South Brooklyn or South Queens or Staten Island gets just a coating of snow and more rain than anything else. So it's difficult. We use Central Park, of course, as the benchmark for the New York City area. So this is the radar projection as of 1 a.m. on Sunday, and here is 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. So it basically, Joe, it shows that whatever we see out of this, the heaviest is probably going to be in the late evening and early morning hours of Saturday night,
Right.
Sunday morning, according to the 18Z GFS.
Right. All right. Brandon Doherty, thank you for hitting the tip jar. And PP Face, Joe. PP Face has also hit the tip jar. That's why the screen just went black. Let's see if I can get you back up on the screen here. Let's.
Do I need to share again, or?
Hold on. Let me try it my way first. Sometimes I'm successful. Yeah, you're gonna have to unshare and share again.
I'll share.
I mean, share and then unshare.
Sharing. And now I'll.
Now you're unsharing.
Now I will unshare.
And there we go. There you go. We're both back. All right. We did a lot of weather tonight. How about a little Briller Jeopardy?
Do I have it or do you have it?
I think you have it. Didn't I have it last night?
Yes, you had it last night, so I'm going to have to.
By the way, thank you. 245 likes. Thank you very much for those of you who have hit the like button tonight. And there's still time. Although I don't know if we have enough time to get to 300 likes, but certainly would like to see a few more added. I'm sure once the show is over and people watch it on the replay, it'll go over 300, and we like that too. So thank you. Anyhow, roll away.
So we have tonight on Briller Jeopardy the average high temperature in January for the 5 following. He gives me 5 cities,
right,
and then 1 geographical location. But we'll do the 5 cities first, starting with Phoenix. Average high temperature in January in Phoenix, Arizona.
I always have trouble when it comes to Phoenix. I'll say 63.
All right. I lost. Wait a minute. No, not quite that low, Joe. A little bit warmer.
Okay, a little bit warmer. All right, so we're doing Phoenix. David Fuller's too low at 50. We're at 257 likes. Christina Pedia says 65. Jason Fox 65. John Melander 70.
I will say Tyler Fenga.
Right.
Which is 69.
Right.
Snake territory. That's
territory. Okay. Trish Sparacchio 71. Jason.
And somebody did get it. 68 for Michael Azera. Thank you very much. You got it.
There you go. Next.
And Dennis Cassia. Dennis, you got one finally.
And Patrick Darcy.
And Frank Scalera.
Oh, very good.
Yes.
Next.
The Steel City, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Home of Bruno Sammartino, I might add.
I will say 37.
37, Joe. Snake territory for you.
Oh, wow. Norm Roberts, thank you for hitting the tip jar tonight. Most appreciated. Steve LaPointe said 35. Jason Fox says 25. Christina Pedia says 34. Tyler Fenga says 32. I said 37, so, and I was close. Jason Barry said 37. Trish Sparacchio says 38.
No.
Okay.
38.
So you know what it is.
Obviously, it would have to be
Leon Probitsky with 36.
And Leon got it. Congratulations, Leon. Wish I could give you a prize, but
well, we could give him a $50 gift certificate from the famous Spiegel Catalog Company, Spiegel, Chicago, Illinois, 60609. They're out of business, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they went out of business a while ago.
Oh, well.
They tried to rebrand themselves, and it didn't quite work.
How about in Oregon, Portland? Not the Portland in Maine, but the Portland in Oregon.
Okay, Portland, Oregon. Pacific Northwest. I'll say I'll say 44.
Ooh, not quite snake territory, Joe, but you were very close. Pretty
Okay.
good, actually.
40. Steve Lapointe said 48. Brandon Doherty 56. Chris Sparacchio 54. Talafianga 49. John Melander 44. Rich Rothmansky 47.
Rich Rothmansky was in snake territory.
Michael McGuire 45. Jason
He's in
Barron
snake territory too.
49. Jason Kaplan 46.
46 is right. There
Patrick
it is.
Darcy, Michael Azera, and Frank Scalera, and all at 46.
There you go.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Next.
Next one is Rochester. It's Rochester, boss.
Rochester, New York,
Rochester, New York.
as
Yes.
opposed to Rochester, Minnesota.
Minnesota? No, it's not Minnesota.
Okay, Rochester, New York. It's cold there. I'll say 32.
Oh, snake again, Joe.
Snake again. David Fuller said 32. Steve Lapointe said 33.
And there you go.
And there he is at 33, Steve Lapointe. You got it. Next.
Voila. Last city is San Antone, which, by the way, all of you who are looking forward to the April eclipse, San Antonio is cut right in half by the shadow of the moon. One part of the city will see a total eclipse. The other part will get 99.9%.
Oh.
And if you say to yourself, well, what's so bad about 99.9? You really don't understand that you have to knock out every part of the sun to get the full effect.
Right.
And you'd be amazed. You know, most people would be amazed, like in 99% of the totality. You'd be amazed to see how much light is put out by even a sliver of the sun. You really have to get rid of all of it. So if you're in San Antonio, take the bus and move to the part of the city where that's going to get the total, as opposed to staying where it's only going to be like 99+%. Anyway, that's the final city here on our list. San Antonio, average high temperature in the month of January in San Antonio, Texas.
A tough one for me. I'll say 62.
Joe, what is it with you tonight and the snake?
Really? Again?
And Musillo, also 62.
Okay, and so everybody else is all over the place. So, yeah, Arthur Cotman, you're way off at 46. Let's see. Everybody 57. Mercy Rogers, 57. That's a new name on the chat board. Welcome. Anthony Sparacchio 68. Michael McGuire 64. Tyler Fienga 63.
And Tyler Finger.
And Bella Lugrissi. I get to say Bella Lugrissi. I always like, yes, that's one of my favorite names on the chat board, Bella Lugrissi. All right, let's, what's the bonus?
No, the bonus is not a city. It is a geographical location. The average high temperature in January for, get this now, Joe, Mount Washington.
Oh, God. For January?
In January,
For Mount
yes.
Washington?
Yes.
All right, Mount Washington's elevation is what?
I believe 6,300 feet.
Okay.
And incidentally, we're up to 271 likes.
I'm gonna say -4.
Well, here's something interesting. It's not a negative number. I will give you that.
Yeah, I wasn't sure where to go with this. I just did some quick math. I tried to guess what the average high would be up at in central New Hampshire, and then I kind of played with the number. But yeah, okay.
And guess what?
What?
Paulo Santos, 12. Stacy Sorney, 12. That's it. 12 degrees.
And I think those are both new names that I haven't seen on the chat board before, and we welcome you, both of you. And Short Film 2, Joe, I think that's also a new chat board participant. And big welcome to you too.
seeing a lot of names on the chat board, which are brand new. And we thank all of you for tuning in to Joe and Joe tonight. And now, maybe if I read the chat board, the super chat list slowly, we just might be able to get the 29 likes that we could use to get to 300. So if you haven't hit the like button yet, hit it. And while you're doing that, let me list all the people who hit super chat tonight, starting with David Fuller. Then comes the chairman, Raymond O'Hara, Nikki Cupcake.
Nikki Cupcake.
Nikki Cupcake?
I think it's Nikki Cupcake.
Nikki Cupcake. All right. Is that the cupcake with the squiggles? You know, the host of squiggles on it.
I don't know. I'm not a cupcake person.
Ken Musillo. Shaggy Stern. We haven't heard from him in a while.
Yes.
Leon Probitsky.
Shraggy Stern.
Shraggy? Yeah,
Shraggy.
Shraggy Stern. Leon Probitsky. Brendan Doherty.
Here's the big one. Here's the big one, Joe.
PP Face 12. Where do these people come up with this?
I'm sorry. It just crossed my mind. The part of that really kind of gets me is the 12.
Right. That number was so much a part of our lives for a good long
Oh
number
my God. But the combination of all the letters and then having a 12 at the end.
Yes.
You know.
And finally, Norm Roberts. So there you go. And we have 284 likes, but I don't think we're going to stick around. 286.
No, 286. No, we're coming up on 10 of 9 Eastern time.
Tom Contino says, many people are complimenting me on my dapper sweater.
I like your sweater.
Thank you.
I'm wearing orange so I can look like a bloated citrus fruit again.
This was a Christmas present from the executive producer. So.
Oh well, very classy.
And even though her eyes are going to roll now by what I'm about to tell you, I put it on mid-afternoon because it was a little cool down here, and she said, "Are you going to walk around with that with the tag still on?" And there was a tag still on the sweater. Quiet John, Joe. Quiet John.
Yes, Quiet John. Thank you, Quiet John. Big hugs, Quiet John. Big hugs.
Yes.
Thank you.
You are
very
amazing.
much.
Well, anyway. 291, Joe. 293, Joe.
Do you have anything to rant about?
No, I don't.
No. I actually do have something to rant about, but I don't know if I want to.
All right. Well,
I don't know if I want to. Maybe, let me see if a few more people get my back up over this, and then maybe tomorrow, I'll save it for tomorrow night, and I'll rant about it tomorrow night.
Well, you don't want to miss tomorrow night's show because tomorrow night is going to be a night where we'll have a much better handle, I think, about what to expect weather-wise, snow-wise, rain-wise, or whatever. And I think the two of us will reveal our snow maps tomorrow night. I think.
Yes. I will reveal my early call map because I won't do the final call map till Friday.
Right.
Okay. And I'm pretty sure we're probably going to be on Friday and Saturday.
Yes, I know, and that's going to make that very happy is going to be Mr. Reuben Fairchild, who again.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of Reuben Fairchild, I didn't say what he posted, but it was the nice. He's been hasn't been here for a while. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it, but he really posted a very, very nice compliment about the show. And Ruben, I think maybe you might be gone already, but if you aren't, thank you so much for saying what you said.
And we hit 300 likes tonight, Joe.
Oh, but it was really nice what he said, Joe. Although he did also add at the end, as I remember, that we should be on every single night in order to have to compensate for all the other crap that passes off as weather on social media and so on. And thank you. That's a really nice thing to say. It really was. If you see him on the board tomorrow night, I gotta remember to thank him. Okay.
Yes.
The Joe and Joe Weather Show is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, and You too can join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video. And use the coupon code I want a weather station. And if you do, you'll get
10 big percent off.
And on that note, we will see everybody tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. And we'll see what adventures will be going on.
Must see TV.
Correct. That we are. All right, Joe. Nighty night. Nighty night, everybody.
305 likes. What a way to end the night. See you tomorrow night.